After writing 2 transformational books myself and supporting many other beings to do the same, I've become enthralled by the deep and mysterious magic that's activated when we choose to say yes to ourselves and commit to the book writing journey. Of course, we want to inspire change and new perspectives in our readers, but the transformation that happens as an author, both throughout the writing process and by actually releasing your book into the world, is surprisingly potent. I know I've been blindsided in the most disruptive and delicious ways by some of the changes my books have brought into my life. Writing a book is like casting a spell. Although we can never be completely sure what's going to be unleashed during the process, we choose to do it anyway. This Unbound one is a heroic journey. Each book has the potential to be a magical portal, a doorway to a new world, both for you and your reader. Each book has a very specific medicine that it's here to share with us. And each book gives us the opportunity to alchemize the magnificent imperfection of our experience into gold. The truth is that anyone can write a book. We could all get a few thousand words down and put them together. But what fascinates me is what happens when we allow the book writing process to go deeper. When we say, fuck it, get naked and dive way down beneath the surface. Letting go of the shoulds and any need to be acceptable, sensible, or approved of. What fascinates me is what happens when we make ourselves fully available to being transformed by the very act of writing a book. This is Unbound Writing, and this is the process we'll be exploring together here in the Unbound Writers Club. I'm Nicola, author and founder of the Unbound Press, and I help magical beings to write the transformational book they're really here to write at this time. I'm your guide here in the Unbound Writers Club, and the aim of this podcast is to help you to feel supported, encouraged, activated as you embark on your book writing journey. Whether you're a first-time author or have many books out in the world, my hope is that you will find something here to inspire you. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Unbound Writers Club. In this episode, I am joined by Tara Jackson. So Tara was one of the original members of the Unbound Writing Mastermind back in 2018. Before even the launch of the Unbound Press, Tara joined the mastermind. She wrote her first book, Embodied, over the 6 months of the mastermind and went on to release that with the Unbound Press. She was one of our first authors as well. And the incredible thing is, since her first book, Embodied, there have been 3 more book babies, 2 of which have been this year. So this week in the Unbound Writers Club, I wanted to have a chat with Tara about her last 2 books, Embodied Creation and Embodied Wealth, which has just been released very recently, about the process that led to these books, because she also released an oracle card deck with us this year. She really is prolific. And I know a lot of people were like, oh my goodness, how does Tara do it? So let's find out in this conversation. Like I said, we are diving into Tara's creative process. And the one thing that has enabled her to birth these books and the oracle card deck with such speed. So let's dive in. So Tara, welcome back to the Unbound Writers Club.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to have you here. I'm just laughing at myself and the conversation we were just having before I hit record. So I'll just put that to one side for a minute and ask you the question that I always ask at the beginning of these conversations. I know I've asked you it before, but I'm curious to hear what it means to you right now in this moment to be an unbound writer.
So yes, right now I would say it's just letting it be what it wants to be. I think I've said that before. And really honoring the creations and what they are and how they want to come through.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to go into it, but how mine came so quickly, and I had to really honor that. And rather than having this fixed schedule or thinking you have to do it in a certain way, of course, it's really allowing it to be what it wants to be and doing my part with that to co-create it. And then now feeling that season of rest after it all. So really honoring this part of it as well. So yeah, all sides to the creative process, I think, really leaning into them in being an Unbound writer.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. And of course, you know, you talk about that very much in your books as well. And, you know, since we've connected, since the beginning of the Unbound Press, you've released 4 books with us and an oracle card deck. Incredibly prolific. But I want to talk specifically about this year, and in particular the last 2 books.
My twins.
Your twins. Embodied Creation and Embodied Wealth. So let's talk about Embodied Creation first, actually, and the process for birthing that book. Tell us about Embodied Creation.
Okay, so Embodied Creation was painful, actually. It was fucking painful, in all honesty. It was like there was a lot in it, and actually it's because there were 2 books coming through, as we'll go into, but it really, because it's about creation, it's about co-creation and that process, and I think the different seasons, as we just said, so I had to go through them massively as well, and it really lived through me in like kind of an intense pregnancy, or and then labor. So it was really, really hard at times, and then it was moments of flow and magic and inspiration and real sparks, but then there was definitely some real pushing and oh my goodness, and the kind of balance within that definitely wasn't the easiest book to write.
And I guess that makes sense because, like you said, you thought it was one, you thought you were carrying one book baby, and actually there were 2 there, so it kind of makes sense.
Definitely.
So I kind of want to talk a little bit more about Embodied Creation and really honor this book before we move on to Embodied Wealth, because I'm just thinking of them like in terms of babies or like siblings. Maybe the first one didn't get that much attention because like this other one was coming through so quickly afterwards.
It's interesting. It's almost like I can't remember it as well because of the intensity of it and how Embodied Wealth came out so quickly after. But yes, so Embodied Creation, actually, it did start as a book that I thought was going to be about manifestation.
Yeah.
It's sort of, over a year ago. And, I was working with people globally, which, parts of our conversations were included in different ways, but it turned into something else. And yes, one of the key messages was really getting out of your own way. Towards the end, it was like, oh my God, it's not the book I thought it was going to be. It's something else. It's what wants to come through you. And, there was still definitely a connection between, it's creation, manifestation, but it wasn't this kind of what I want it to be so much as what's coming through. Honor that energy, allow what wants to come through you. And so it was an incredible metaphor in itself, of course, for that, and allowing it to come through and be the book it wanted to be rather than what I had originally started with. And that was the beauty of it, and it's such a magical thing to look at now. But when I was in it, it was bloody painful at the time. So yes, definitely.
Yeah. It feels like actually for each of your embodied books, like all 4 of them, it's been like the process has been different for each one, but there is this kind of key theme that runs through them all. Like maybe for each of the books you expected them to be a particular way, and actually and each one of them's ended up being what they wanted to be.
Yeah. And of course, all about embodiment, of course.
Yeah.
I think it would surprise me now.
Yeah. So you really have to live your books, don't you? I mean, I talk about this often, and I hear myself saying it in the Unbound Writing Mastermind. Like sometimes, rather than being in the process of writing our books, we're living them. And what is that process like for you, Tara?
Yeah, it's varied with each book. Embodied Creation, it was just like the day-to-day of the seasons, because I'm thinking back, and actually, the book stopped at one point. It totally, the energy disappeared for about 4 months.
Yeah.
And then suddenly came back with this splash and in this new kind of way. And that's part of the creative process, and the seasons of creation, the void, etc. So it's like I'm living it but without even knowing that I'm living it in some ways, until I look back and connect the dots and see, oh, okay, that's what was going on. And then I can write about it. So it's kind of like that. It's subtle but powerful in its own way, and I find, and then looking back at it, it kind of all makes sense and comes together.
Yeah, absolutely. So Embodied Creation, wasn't quite the book you expected it to be, birthed into the world. Like, okay. And I remember with that process, when Embodied Creation was coming out, you were kind of like, this is, I'm just going to let it do its thing. Like, you always do this pretty much, but you're like, yeah, I'm just going to let it do its thing. It doesn't feel like it wants a big launch or anything. So that happened earlier this year. Embodied Creation makes its way into the world. Tell us what happened next.
So, well, it's
not that you have to tell me, because I remember it very well, but tell.
Yes. Although, so towards the end, because it was really last minute as well, in terms of getting it out to meet the date it wanted and everything else. And I could feel this other title, and I was like, no, go away, really pushing it away. Very, very small whisper. But then once the book had come out, I took that week off, and 4 or 5 days in, it's journaling, and it was like, no, I'm still here, really loudly. Embodied Wealth, you have to write me now. I am still here. I'm a book that needs to come. And it's the parts that I had felt what I wanted to put in Embodied Creation, which I actually didn't and had let go of, and more, basically, sort of all my experiences with colour that I'd had over the past year and a half.
Yeah.
And it was still this, so it was like it was already there, definitely. I'd lived it again. I'd lived the experience of it, but it still wanted to be a book, and it was really loud. And I just remember emailing you, going, I left it for 2 days to really feel into it and go, you're kidding me, you're actually kidding me. And no, we met up and connected and checked in with it, and yes, it was a book that wanted to come within 4 months. So yes, that happened.
Like you do. And I remember saying to you, look, Tara, this is amazing. Like, I'm so here for it. Like, whatever books want to come through, however they want to come through. And, a big part of the Unbound process is we allow ourselves to be led by the books, because they are always going to do what they want to do. We kind of have no control over that, as we both know very well. But people were already, like, in the Unbound writing community, like, oh my goodness, Tara is like amazing, because like this was.
Oh, I felt a lot of things with that, the too muchness, oh my God, who is she to do that? Like, as well as, can I do that? Am I like, is it going to be any good? Is it going to be anything? I don't know. I had a lot of stuff come up, definitely, about saying yes to this one and having 2 books so close to each other.
So interesting, that too much piece, isn't it? And it's interesting because my perception of it from other people talking about you and your books and the way you work is just like people being in awe and like, oh my goodness, isn't this amazing? Like, Tara is just so prolific and creates these amazing like things, whether it's a book or the Oracle deck. They're just like stunning and so powerful. So there's nothing around other people going, oh my goodness, there's too much. Like, who does she think she is? But we can feel that so much, can't we? And it can be the same, like if you're posting on social media, more than you feel you should, or whatever it is. So that's really interesting how that showed up for you.
Definitely showed up, and had to really, hold myself through that and let go and sort of kind of close myself off a bit, just in general, because I felt it very strongly with this, because it was like, 3 things in 1 year as well. It was going to be quite a lot, and it was, I felt a lot, definitely.
I don't love it that you felt a lot, but I just love that you were like, okay, but I'm still doing it. So
I'm still doing it. Yes.
So tell us about Embodied Wealth, because like writing a book about wealth as well, like that can be another like
of course. That brought up all the things. That brought up more stuff, definitely. Yes.
I mean, you could have written a book about sex, maybe that might have done it as well, but sex.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And because wealth can be so many different. Well, I think the reason it was okay was because I'm talking about wealth in a way that I feel true wealth is, which is, us being fully ourselves ultimately, and living lives in our way, our values, what really turns us on and excites us in the world, how we want to live, rather than just a financial thing. Yeah. So at least that opened the space for it to be something that I think we can all tune into as well, and felt much richer and like something I'm stepping into rather than something I have to know about, from a kind of that point of view. And that felt more opening, and I can do this, or I can add a little part to that, my part to that, in the world. So that was okay. But yeah, Embodied Wealth was very different to write as well. And I know we had some conversations around this beauty who was, totally different energy. And actually, when it was circling back to your question about unbound writing, it definitely taught me some new things about writing in an unbound way. Yeah. Which were around simplicity, actually.
Yeah.
Allowing it to be simple. And which was a huge metaphor for the book.
Totally jumping in there.
Like, jump in.
No, I'm really interested in how the experience of writing Embodied Wealth was so different, and the energy of the book. So I'd love to hear you say a little bit more about that. Yeah. And in particular, the simplicity piece, because I think whatever we're writing about, the very act of writing can send us up into our heads.
Oh, yes.
When we're writing a book, it's like, okay, well, how does this need to be? How should it be? So tell us how this process was with Embodied Wealth.
And I mean, the thoughts were there because it was like this 4-month time frame, and knowing I needed to get it uploaded, and there were other people involved, proofing, designing, etc., editing. That's leaving me with not much time, and I was moving countries and traveling for a few months.
Exactly.
So kind of within that space. So I was freaking a bit, definitely. And it was like, why aren't you coming? You're here already. For God's sake, can we write this damn book? And every time it was just little pieces, but then very much chill the fuck out. That's the message I got. And it was just chill, simple, relax, chill. Sort of getting closer and closer to, it was August, I think. And then suddenly it came, and it was like, okay. I mean, I had done bits, don't get me wrong, over the, those months. I'd put together some of the pieces from my Colour Mirrors experience, the baths that are included. I'd had some of that I kind of had put together, and it was just piecing it together. And everything around it, though, was really simple. It was, I actually scrapped a lot and ended up making it. It's the shortest of my books, but it was very simple. It was about, no, it's a simple thing. Why do we make it so complicated? Just allow it to be what it is. That's it. And so that's what it turned into.
Amazing. And I do just want to, you mentioned it there, that at the time you were moving countries, so moving back to the UK. And I remember we met up not long after you got back to the UK, and you were like, the book's just doing its thing, It will come. And I always really trust that. But,
I'm glad you do. Yes.
The book wanted to be out on your birthday.
Yeah, my 40th, which was really lovely. Yeah. And it made it. I think because what was so wonderful was that I finished it in London. I kind of uploaded it, or I think sent it to you in Canada or something, uploaded it in the US, and then it finally got the final approval back in London or something. It was just this little, and started in Kenya. It was this little global thing, which meant a lot to me, but it kind of this magical way, which was incredible, of literally tying into days that I had computer time even, or wasn't moving around. So I could do the proofing of the edits and the final things and upload and stuff. It was so magical, the days that I had that happen. It literally had a life of its own, this energy that was supportive of me. And I did actually say to it, if you want this to happen on the 11th, you're going to make this happen and make it easy for me. And so there we go.
I love that. And it just shows when we trust our process and the process of our books, when we let them lead us, which is not always, if ever, easy, because again, our minds can get in the way and be like, oh no, but I need more time, or whatever it is. Then things can unfold. Well, things will always unfold in the way that they're meant to, even if
this is true. Exactly.
And I also want to say we're very fortunate at the Unbound Press that Tara knows the system kind of inside out and is able, she's like, look, I want this the book wants this release date. I know it's a really tight kind of timeline, but because Tara is familiar with all the behind the scenes, is she's able to kind of do a lot of it herself, which we're very grateful for.
I think the book knows that too. That's why it gives me these tight time frames sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, so tell us about the color aspect, because when you sent over the manuscript for Embodied Wealth, I was like, oh my goodness, like that part of the book just blew my mind. This is what makes it so different to any other kind of wealth book about wealth that I have ever read. It's just, I just adore it. So tell us, for those listening, what part does color have to play?
Oh, thank you, Nicola. Thank you for that. Yeah, so basically from lockdown, I started learning about color mirrors, the system of color mirrors, which kind of goes into the psychology behind some colors and color combinations. And they're actually these bottles of colored oils and water that you can bathe in. And so eventually, when I was able to get the bottles in Kenya, and literally this is all I did, I then took a number of color mirrors baths and basically recorded my experiences. And this was just for me. It was for my own self-care, really getting in the body, which is what color does, and especially bathing in it. And so each bath took me on this incredible journey, or maybe just it would be like one fact I'd get, one kind of like bit of inspirational guidance. Some of them would bring up stuff, color can really do that. It brings up what needs to come up depending on what the color is, the psychology. And so I recorded these baths, and and my color deck is obviously based on them too. But yeah, so basically I then kind of had all these recordings and decided this is what has helped me to become more of me in these, especially over these last 2 years. It's really supported me to shed layers, beliefs, etc., to just align more and more with me and how I want to be in the world today. We're still growing and evolving. And so I just changed them into kind of pieces that then kind of fit into sometimes the color bottle that I had bathed in that color section in the book, or maybe the message then fit into another one depending on the psychology behind it. So I ended up with these 16 colors and different stories, pieces, bits of guidance, inspiration within them, which ultimately, are an invitation to dive more into you, to see how they resonate, to maybe inspire something, maybe, support you in some way. And I think that's just, that's how they came about and what they were. And I find color so powerful and such a magical tool to help us align more and more with ourselves. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So you didn't know when you were having those experiences, you didn't know, it wasn't like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm going to record it and then that will be for a book.
No, absolutely not. No. These were personal, private experiences as well. Really were, some of them. A lot of tears came out in those baths and everything else. They really were for me. But it wanted to be shared, I think, with all this stuff at the end of the day. And it's in terms of like actually that you benefited from it, the energy as well. The energy behind that is so potent, I think, anyway, what it's helped an experience. And I think, the voice recordings then, transcribed, and just, you could feel them sometimes, even, some of them. And I think that's, you kind of like, it felt like I have to share that in some way, and it just fit beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely. It is like, they were specifically written for the book. It's quite
well, they probably were,
exactly. Yeah, they were.
Of course.
So you didn't know.
Of course.
And again, I feel like this is really important to highlight. And thank you so much for sharing that about your process that you didn't know was your book writing process. But often people are writing and thinking, oh, but this is just for me. This is just for my journal. It feels really personal. I don't think this is for the book. I'm just having these experiences and I'm recording them. And like the book has to be something separate where, you're writing in a different way. And actually, when we go back very often to our journals or transformational experiences that we've had, there's so much there. Like, obviously it's for us, but there's so much there for others as well. So powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah. And absolutely not to think about it that it has to be for something. Like it's really for us, then the joy is there, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Oh, so Embodied Wealth now is out in the world, making its way into the world.
It is.
Are there any other, this is what I was joking about before we got record, like, Tara, you're not going to drop a bombshell. Actually, there's a 5th book that's coming. Are there any other embodied books that feel like they're bubbling?
I hope not. Not now. I'm going to say that this time. Before I was like, no way. And now I'm like, oh my God, I think we've activated something. No, not now. Not now. Seriously, the energy's changed from when you asked me that before. It really has, Nicola.
I can feel it. I can feel it in my womb space, in my creative, oh dear.
Oh, watch this space. No, not right now. I need a break. I'm taking some time out.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing we were talking about, like, you know, to release 3, I don't want to call them things, but, you know, 2 books and an oracle card deck. And of course, that's not all you do. Like, you're continually creating in your business and, you know, creating the most amazing offerings. So now you feel moving into the later part of this year that you're moving into more rest mode.
So actually, there's what I have been called into is to share them more, to share them in the world in different ways, in gentle ways, in colourful ways, and magical ways. And just actually, I'm playing with kind of the sharing, the PR, the marketing, you know, in ways that are different, that feel fun and creative, and that, you know, obviously is a lot of creative energy too. So that's what it feels like. It's like they came out in quick succession, and now it's my part to play as well, to share them in the world, get them out there into, you know, people who might need and want them. Yeah,
absolutely. And tell us a little bit more about that, particularly in relation to embodied wealth and the colours, how you're sharing that.
Yeah, I mean, at the minute, I've just got it's kind of like I suppose it's a 16-week project going on on Instagram and in my Facebook group called The Colours of Wealth. And I'm sharing, you know, invitations to dive deeper into the colour, maybe, you know, visualizations, activations, as well as coming up, we'll be, you know, sharing other people who work with colour, people, how it inspires them, colour, and just, getting more colour into the world in ways that, you know, can be about self-care and just bringing more colour into our world. I think we need some magic and colour, more magic and colour, basically. And so just looking at fun ways to create beauty and to share it, through the colour moment. And I'm just letting it lead and, you know, kind of do what comes up as it does. Beautiful.
Well, I so appreciate that about you, Tara, the way, you know, like I said, ever since we connected, like over 4 years ago now, we've been on this journey.
No, I think the final book was almost the day 4 years after I signed up for the mastermind. The final book was like, I think I got an email a reminder or something, and it was like, oh my goodness, 4 years ago. Look at that. Wow.
That's incredible. It really is. And I so appreciate the way you allow yourself to follow kind of these creative impulses, callings, you know, and let your creations, whether it's a book or the oracle card deck, guide you and lead you, and trust that it's really quite something to witness. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. And just for holding the space to be able to do that it's life-changing, and I'm so grateful to you. So for holding that space to enable me to do that is thank you.
Oh, thank you. And thank you to your books and to your oracle card deck as well, because they have taught both of us so much.
They have. I am grateful.
Oh, so Tara, for people who want to connect with you and find out more about your work, what's the best way for them to do that?
Probably Instagram at Empathpreneurs. I do have a Facebook group, but I can't remember the name of it right now. So Instagram probably. On my website, it's also empathpreneurs.org.
Yeah.
The links are all there. Yeah.
Amazing. We'll make sure all the links are in the show notes. Maybe even the Facebook group as well.
Maybe the Facebook group. Because there's a special link at the end, you know, when you can customize it.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's fine. People will find you in the way that they're meant to.
Yes, exactly. I trust that.
Oh, thank you so much, Tara, for being in the Unbound Writers Club today. Like, so grateful for your presence in the Unbound Writing community.
Thank you so much.